Good morning. Appreciate everyone being here. I will now call this meeting of the Alabama Commission on Higher Education to order. First, I'd like to ask Commissioner Nelson to lead us in prayer.
Good morning, everybody. Would you please join me as we speak to the Lord about this meeting today? Heavenly Father, with humble hearts, we thank you for allowing us to serve the state of Alabama. We pray that your hands will be on every decision that we make here today. God, this coronavirus has created chaos for the students of this state and this country. Pray that you will see us through this and bring us out the other side. We ask this in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Excellent. Thank you, Commissioner Nelson. Appreciate that. Now, at this time, will the commissioners unmute and let's recite the Pledge of Allegiance together. I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United States
of America
and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That is always so awkward to me on Zoom, but anyway, we got through it. That's great. So going forward, so we are able to hear our presenters. Will everyone at this point click the mute button from this point forward? If anybody needs to speak up, of course, unmute. And this is so important because we've got so many people on this Zoom call. So if you will, just look at it, make sure it's muted, and continue to look at it just in case you were to unmute it, just because if we have one person off, it just kind of disrupts the meeting, and we kind of have a long agenda today, so we just need to kind of get on through it. So anyway, just some further logistics of our Zoom meeting. To make this meeting run as smoothly as possible, I have asked Commissioner Miranda Bolding Frost to make the motion to approve an item and Commissioner Price to second the motion, and they've agreed to do that. So they will be making the motions today. Of course, when we get all together, once again, hopefully in December, that will be open for the commission to make motions as freely as we want. So at this point, Dr. Purcell, please call the roll.
Charles Bunton.
Here.
Miranda Bolden Frost. Ann Sermon.
Here.
Norman Crow.
Here.
Jody Singleton.
Here.
Timothy Guyan.
Here.
Paul Kennedy.
Here.
Amy Price.
Here.
Larry Turner.
Here.
Stan Pylant.
Here.
Stan Nelson.
Here.
Rod Scott.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, we have a quorum.
Excellent, thank you. Did Commissioner Bolden, I know she was with us earlier, did she
Yes,
respond?
I'm here.
Excellent, okay, great, great, okay, good. Everyone should have had time to review the agenda. At this time, the chair entertains a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any questions or comments? All in favor of approving, say aye.
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 And all opposed, like sign. Agenda is approved. Everyone should have had time to review the minutes as well. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes as presented? Hearing none, the chair entertains a motion to approve the minutes of the June 11th, 2021 meeting.
So moved.
We have a motion. Commissioner Price, can you second that for me? Okay, Commissioner Sermon, if Mrs. Commissioner Price is not available, can you just second that for me, please?
Absolutely. Second.
Okay. Any questions or comments? All in favor of approving, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And all opposed, like sign. Minutes are approved. Commissioners report. Just want to first of all thank all the commissioners for being here. Your time is valuable. And just cannot appreciate your commitment to the commission and being with us today. We do have a lengthy agenda, so we'll kind of get through it all together. And also would like to welcome any university, college, staff, administration. We appreciate you being with us. You know, if there are any positives to this Zoom meeting, it's the fact that we can have more people on. And so I think that's beneficial for college and university administration and staff, that they don't have to travel, that they can be with us through this meeting. So we welcome you as well. And speaking of commissioners, I would like to welcome our newest commissioner, Mr. Jody Singleton from Henry County. He will be replacing Mr. Charles Sanders, which just did a commission, just a fabulous job, and we'll miss him. But also I would like for Commissioner Singleton to serve on the Academic Affairs Committee as a replacement for Charles Sanders. The other members of that committee are Commissioner Price, Commissioner Guillen, Kennedy, and Turner. So that concludes my report. At this time, I would like Commissioner Stan Pilot to give the nominating committee report.
Thank you, Chairman Button, and good morning to everybody from the Rocket City. The nominating committee has collaborated and recommends that Commissioner Charles Button continue to serve as chair for a second year, and that Commissioner Miranda Bolden Frost continue to serve as vice chair for a second year. And we would like to put this forward for the commission to vote. So with that, I will entertain a motion to accept the nominating committee's recommendation.
So moved.
Okay, so we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second to accept the recommendation as presented. Are there any questions or comments? Okay, barring none, all in favor say aye,
Aye.
Aye.
and opposed, like sign. So the recommendations are accepted, Mr. Chairman.
Thank
And
you,
thank you.
Commissioner Price.
I would like to add my personal thanks for you and Commissioner Bolden for agreeing to continue on as chair and vice chair. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Commissioner Pilot, and thank you to the committee and the commission for putting your trust in myself and Commissioner Bolden. She's going to do an excellent job in a year's time. And Commissioner Pilot, I'm glad that you're continuing to heal. We have certainly been thinking about you and praying for you. That is just really frightening, but I just hope your body continues to heal.
I really appreciate that. If I could just add one thing, yesterday was 3 months for folks on the call. I fell, I broke 5 ribs, my back, concussion, all of that. But I actually went out yesterday. It was so pretty. I said, you know what? I'm going to go play golf. So I played golf. I played 18 holes yesterday for the first time in 4 months. So
Fantastic. That is
anyway,
great.
sorry, a little sidebar there.
That's fantastic. Great. Well, thank you for that report. Now I'll turn it over to Dr. Purcell for the executive director's report.
Well, good to see everybody after a very fun summer. We did a lot of stuff in our office, and one of the things we really did is hire people. So I want to introduce to you the new people that we have. We've done a new thing this summer, and that is really to hire some people that are on sort of a heavy part-time schedule. And this is Nicholas Bolden. He's visiting associate director. He's really helping us organize a lot of activities that we have to make sure that they get a good jump start. He helped us this summer with the HBCU consortium, and we'll be working on some other things throughout the year. He does have a day job over in Columbus State as a professor there. Another visiting research person you'll have is Bryn Bokuyama. She'll be speaking a little bit later on a study, and she's already made an impact with us. Evidently, she's quite excellent in the statistical analysis and things of that nature, so we're really happy about that. She's got 2 presentations already related to some of our research that have been approved for a presentation at a national conference. We've got Patrick Kelly. He was a researcher for NCHEMS for a long time, worked in the Kentucky Council of Post-Secondary Ed. He's got some things that aligns with some of the stuff we want to do. He's from Trustville, and we're glad to have him on staff. LaTanya Knight, new hire in accounting, a staffed accountant. She has a degree from AUM in resource management, in accounting, and a master's degree in human resource management at Troy. And she worked for Father Purcell Memorial Exceptional Children's Center prior to that. And Father Purcell is no kin to me. He is much more spiritual than I. Takina Jones, grant and scholarship assistant. She's got an undergraduate degree from UAB, previously worked as the chief financial aid officer and the VA certifying official at South University, and prior to that at Fortis College. She is from and still resides in Montgomery. Lakira Gill, the credential registry specialist. As you may recall, the legislature funded us to work on this particular project. She's got a great background in sort of understanding credentials and everything after working for Ingram State for 17 years. So we're excited about that. She is from and still resides in Wetumpka. And our newest deputy director is Jim Hood. He has a master's in business and education from Delta State, a PhD from the University of Mississippi, and served as the assistant commissioner of strategic research at the Mississippi Institution of Higher Ed for 20 years. He's been on the job about a week. He is originally from Cleveland, Mississippi, but now resides in Pike Road. So that's our new hires for the summer. And for those of you keeping track on your organizational chart, these are the new hires. And then, as you recall from our prior meeting, we actually hired a few other people. So the agency is changing. It's at a point in its time where a lot of people are at retirement age, and we're rearranging the deck and moving things forward. We had an audit this summer. We had one finding, which is pretty good. It was over 4 years, very comprehensive audit. They did seem to identify that we had not notified the Secretary of State of vacancies that come up on the commission. We looked into that. We actually got dinged on this in a prior examination. We now know how to do this correctly and do it on timely. So we promise that you will not see this next time. But all in all, for as comprehensive an audit, very impressive for our accounting staff and our staff overall for their efforts. It's time for that census economic update. And sort of, as you recall, this is the economy starting out in 1999. Blue is good. Then orange, bad things happen, such as losses after 9/11. We come along and we sort of see what weather does to us. Katrina destroys the economy down Louisiana. Then, of course, the mortgage blow up in 2008. We're all suffering. And then the world looks great. We're rocking and rolling on our 401ks. We're living the dream. We're going to retire early. We're going to make it all happen. It's going to work great. My gosh, this is super fantastic. Nothing can go wrong.
Yeah.
But what's neat is that we had the pandemic, boom, the whole world goes crazy. And then all of a sudden it goes crazy back. And so this is pretty exciting for us. So we have to really think about how do we build our economies? How do we take advantage of this pause that we had? How do we sustain it? There's a lot of books out there that give guidance on this. You know, I've been a big fan of these two books about how to build human capital and how to build good economies. And really what you have to have is that whole density of skilled workers, alignment of skills, and we've been working real hard on that. And the solution is more about Sparta and Athens. It's a return to the wars between the city-states. So it's sort of Huntsville versus Montgomery, Birmingham, Mobile, and those places like that. And you'll sort of see that's the case. So really, your success is really based on the fact that whether you have educated and skilled people in your economy. And we're going to see what happened since 1940. What happened in Alabama during that period of time? And you see the big cities they're competing, and oh my gosh, a new winner. Huntsville becomes the king of the hill. They are now the largest city in Alabama. Congratulations. And you can sort of see that a lot of things were done right in Huntsville. They focused on how to build their economy. They built it right. Miranda Frost Bolden has a company there that's a tech company, Logicor. It's an example of those kind of businesses that have attracted to that and really has a lot of educated people working up there. Stan Pilot with WHNT, his TV channel has been covering this growth since the early 1960s, and it really has made a big difference up in that part of the woods. So here you are. Now, of all the counties, where do the people live? Jefferson County is still the biggest county, but Madison, where Huntsville is quite large. we're going to look at a couple maps like this and sort of want to orient you to this. The larger or the darker the colors is, of course, the most populated or the largest percents, whatever. Also, the colors are statistically different. So everything that's the same color are the same, but each category is different. So Jefferson County and is different from Madison, and all the way down to the counties that are in white would be very, very different from each other. So this is actually what percent of the state population of these counties are. So you can sort of see that Jefferson is 13%. Well, a half of all Alabamians live in 8 counties, which is something to consider when you're trying to build economies. 70% live in the upper half of the state, which is a big difference, and they actually live in this circled spot. So that's a different world than what we had in the past. So if you look at high school graduates, where are the high school graduates? You know, what percentage by county do we have them? There's some important things to note here, because as we think about building human capital, and it has to be people with credentials after high school, there's still a couple of counties that only have, well, there's 1 in 4 of their adults that do not have a high school diploma. But then you look at the people at 1 in 5, you know, we've got almost a pandemic itself in the number of counties where we still have a lot of people not having a high school diploma, and that's certainly going to impact their ability to participate in this new economy that's all about knowledge and the ability to work a computer and things like that. Well, this is the associate degrees, so you can sort of see some impressive places. You've got Madison County, where all the smart people go to live. Shelby County, also, I guess, where smart people go. And Jefferson County, still quite impressive in the number of people with a bachelor's. And of course, Lee County is 7 points ahead of Tuscaloosa County, so there's pride for everyone. The next chart is quite a different analysis. What it does is looks at, of the state's population, what percent of the population is in your county. And what you're going to find here is something that we as people delivering post-secondary education have to consider. A quarter of all the people with degrees right now live in 2 counties. And those are actually the economic engines that we have. So we definitely have to concentrate on these communities to make sure that they keep having the people there to make it happen. And really a third are in these 5 counties. And then 2/3 of the state's degree holders live in 9 counties. So those guys are the places that are going to be our economic engines. But at the same time, we've got to think of a plan to optimize the ability of people in other counties to be successful and to build economies in those counties. So that is one of our charges, is to be stewards of our community. If you look about education pipelines, how do we educate our people, and is that pipeline working? And this is one of our charges. AIC is not only charged with helping with higher ed, but we actually are charged to work with K through 12 to strengthen their part of the pipeline. So here's the 9th graders, 58,000 people in a couple years ago, 2009, 2010. And we're going to look at the quickest way to get people out of the educational system and into the workplace. What does it look like? By the 9th grade, we've got a lot of those people dropping out or moving out of state. Enrolled directly into college, just about 36% of 9th graders, first timers, full-time students, about 1/3 of them. And this is the people that sort of end up graduating quicker. So we're going to track these guys out. We lose a few more after a year. Within 6 years, we have 10,000 graduates. So after 10 years of the 9th grade, we have 10,000 graduates. Some are with an associate's degree, and some with a bachelor's. And as you know, we did a employment outcomes report last year. And if you consider the percentages that actually stay, we kept almost 3/4 of the associate degree people, but we actually kept less than half of your bachelor's degree folks. So we do have to think about how do we optimize our supply chain for businesses and everything in the state. Well, the governor has an initiative. She had that goal for 500,000 new credentials to 2025. The national average right now is 51.9. Both Alabama and the nation want to get to 60% having credential by young high school. So how are we doing? Well, this is the progress. The attainment Alabama was at 37% when this initiative started. The nation moved up to 51.9. 9, Alabama, drum roll. 45.1. So we've made some progress. And actually, if you look at it, yes, the national attainment up 8%, but the growth rate is about 18%. In Alabama, we grew 7.8, but the growth rate was 21%. So we are moving ahead at a quicker pace than really the rest of the country. So we are making progress. Congratulations to the campuses who are helping us produce credentials. Wanted to talk about a couple initiatives that our AIC has done over the summer. This is sort of like, what did you do this summer? Well, this is some of it. Last year, we had an issue with the high schools allowing our admission staff to actually get on to their campuses to talk to people about going to college. So working with the registrars, specifically the staff from Jacksonville State University, to help us identify an opt-in survey where we ask the students, do you want to go to college? What are you interested in? And those kind of things. So they fill out a form, talk about their contact information, their major, where they want to live on campus, do they need financial aid, what their interests are. And if they submit that, they can actually select up to 3 publics and 3 private institutions where that information will go. And then those institutions can contact them directly. And we're sort of having that same problem right now, you know, with the pandemic going pretty wacky right now. We want to get the students informed of that. So that's one exciting thing that we're doing for a second year and sort of improved on it a bit. The other thing we had was someone from the State Board of Education had asked, can we get more information, consumer information on campuses? And we have developed a tool for that. This nifty jifty one-page handout that's on the left of your screen is printable off of our webpage for counselors or career coaches in the high schools. A student can take a picture of the little scanny thing here and gets on their phone, and then instantly it'll go to the AIC website, and you can pick an institution that you have interest in, and you can provide consumer information. So here's an example, Troy University. So it goes there, and you can see all the type of information you're going to have on this. And I'm going to look up retention and graduation information. And boom, there you see that for full-time students, they're retained at 75%. After 1 year, part-time students, 40%. And then if you look at graduation rates, the 4-year rates, real good, 27%. But after 6 years, over, you know, right at 50%, which is actually a good rate for a university. And you move along and make progress. So that's good for people to understand really what the colleges have to offer them. And then, of course, there's this issue about, well, I need to pay for college. We put together a book that's online that the counselors and career coaches actually have also. And what it does is sort of explain how financial aid works. And it'll go over all the aid packages that come through our office, and actually all the aid packages that are available from the state of Alabama, and a lot about how to fill out a FAFSA, because that's the new and exciting thing that's happening this year, because this is it, guys. The governor has indicated that we should have everybody from high school to fill out a FAFSA as a requirement for graduation. There are some waivers, but it is a big push, because as our economy grows, we need more credentialed people. We need people to have that base education, but we also need them to have the ability to go on and get some post-secondary credentials. So how are we going to do this? And AIC got involved because we're the only entity in the state that actually can connect to the federal database, FAFSA, and look at all the records of people who apply for financial aid. So we have worked with K through 12 to sort of support that effort. But the issue right now is in our current initiative, where we actually were just talking to students and stuff, about 55% of high school seniors were applying, and we have to get to 100%. So it's going to take a lot of effort, and I think all of us are going to have to get into the game. The other issue is there wasn't really fidelity of implementation at all school districts. Some were at 82%, which is really great, but then Russell County was down to 41%. So how do we make sure that the kids have access to aid? And our solution, of course, being higher ed people say, we should do software solutions. So we have worked with a contractor to make this happen. This was some of the GEARS money that was provided for the state to help transition us post-pandemic is used for that. And this is how it's going to work. A kid will fill out the FAFSA in a computer lab or at their house, It goes up to federal land. It pops up into a cloud as it always has. AIC will download that information. K through 12 will actually provide us a list of the senior class so that we know who those students are. With our contract we have with Oracle, they're going to match and compare those two records, the FAFSA records with the senior class. And then instantly, Oracle is going to identify and work to really correct some of the errors that happen when a student fills out a FAFSA and gives them feedback instantly, basically, so that they sort of know what they have to do to get it corrected and optimize it. And this is actually very important because in the past, we could leave these errors sort of floating along, maybe even until right before they graduate or right before they enroll in the next fall. But right now, we've got to do it before they graduate in May. So we've had to speed up this process. And so that's why we're doing this. So they can repeat the process as they need to. And then we've also have an ability for reports to come to the school districts, and they can give that information to their staffs, the career coaches and the counselors specifically, to help those students individually work through any errors they have so we can have great success on this. The other thing we have with GEARS money is we were authorized $1.5 million to have enhancement of some of the bridge programs on our campus. As you know, the pandemic has made it a little bit more difficult for kids to get ready for prime time, or ready for post-secondary credentials. And these initiatives that some of our institutions already have help bridge that gap between their senior year experience and what they're going to need to be successful in high school. So we'll be doing an RFP for our campuses so they can enhance any summer programs experience they have or create ones. There will be some prioritization for working with students that are needing the help. So with that, sir, I would like to hand it back to you. Be glad to answer any questions. Otherwise, we'll be ready for discussion items.
Excellent. Any questions for Dr. Purcell? Well, that report's so informative. Welcome to all the new staff members. Unbelievable. Just seems like everybody is so bright and we are just locked and loaded now. And Dr. Purcell, thank you for finding all of those extremely sharp candidates. And so welcome staff, and thank you for everything, Dr. Purcell. So at this time, Dr. Purcell will introduce our presenter for the first discussion item.
Yes, Retain Alabama is an initiative that we talked about a little bit at our last meeting. For those of you that are the new board members, wanted to mention that we did have a retention problem of our graduates in the state. We have the third worst retention rate of retaining our own graduates. There was a lot of questions about how to do this. We wanted to check that information, so we did a big study of employment outcomes. We matched our graduates to the labor data in the state, and we found that we kept 2/3 of our Alabama residents, but just less than 20% after 5 years of the people that come to the state and get educated. They all go back and work in their state. The big one too is, we've got a lot of majors that actually have more people going out of state than staying in state. We want to concentrate on these, especially those in the STEM majors, which are so important to Alabama's economy. The budget put money in that for us to support that. The $400,000 for us and $400,000 for a group called EDPA. And one of the things we want to do first is really assess really what young people were saying. Bryn Bakayama, I introduced her earlier as one of our visiting research fellows. I'm going to have her present on the survey results to sort of gives us an idea of what we need to do to encourage people to stay in the state. Bryn?
Great. Thank you, Dr. Purcell, and good morning, everyone. So we're going to go through the results, a summary, the highlights of the results of the Retain Alabama survey. I want to acknowledge I'm presenting on behalf of an incredible team that has been working on this project for AIC. That includes Dr. Michael Walker-Jones, Dr. Robin McGill, Kristen White, myself, and of course, Dr. Purcell. The purpose of the Retain Alabama survey was to, as Dr. Purcell stated, was to really look at how we keep that talent that has been developed in the state of Alabama. So we want to find out what are the impressions that students have of Alabama, what is their interest in working and living in Alabama after graduation, and what are those influences for their major and also their career decisions. This Retain Alabama initiative could not have been possible without the partnership of all 14 public institutions in the state of Alabama. It has been a collaborative process, and they've all been involved in the survey design and discussion of the survey results. So the survey was administered this year from February through March. It was only administered to sophomores, juniors, and seniors at the 14 public institutions, four-year public institutions in Alabama. Our response rate was 9%, which represents over 8,000 students who completed the full survey. There are 5 components of the survey. The first is inspiration for their major. The second is the Alabama regions that they visited. The third is the highest positive rating for the regions. The fourth, where we're really getting to the meat of the survey, is intentions to stay in Alabama after graduation. And the last is impressions of Alabama versus importance of items to those students. So the first that we're going to touch on briefly is inspiration for majors. As you can see, across all of the students who responded, the top 3 inspirations for majors were the curriculum itself, employment or job prospects, and family influence. There are, for job prospects, you can see that that was a greater influencer for males than it was for females, but overall, across all demographic variables, those were the top 3 influences for students when they are working to select their major. This slide shows inspirations that had less influence on students when they were deciding their majors. It's important to note those first 3, extracurricular, high school work-based learning, and college work-based learning, those 3 items did have a greater influence on STEM students, but there's a great opportunity to really focus in on that pre-college activities for students to help them to identify what the major is that they want to pursue. We're going to very briefly touch on this, views of Alabama regions. So across all demographic variables, Birmingham and Huntsville were the top regions visited. For some students, Gulf Shores and Orange Beach came up as the 3rd ranked region visited in Alabama. After that, there was great diversity based on the various factors that we looked at. So not surprisingly, the regions that had the highest positive ratings were Birmingham and Huntsville, and that's across all demographic variables. All right, so now we're going to get into what students said about their intentions to stay in Alabama after graduation. So you can see here, there were 33% of students who said they do intend to stay in Alabama after graduation, 23% who said they do not intend to stay in Alabama, and then the largest group are the students who said maybe, they're undecided, maybe they will stay in Alabama after graduation. So that 43% is really the target for the Retain Alabama initiative to help convince those students that yes, they should stay in Alabama. We disaggregated these data by numerous demographic variables to have a better understanding of the nuances. So as you would expect, students that were Alabama residents before college are more likely to say that they plan to stay in Alabama after graduation at about 43%. And then students that were non-residents, so they're out-of-state students who came to Alabama for college, we have 35% of them who say they do not plan to stay in Alabama after graduation. But for both those groups, we have a high percentage of students that are saying maybe. So even for non-residents, we have 47% that are undecided. So there's a huge opportunity for us in Alabama to convince this 41% and this 47% to say, yes, I want to stay in Alabama. When we looked at by race, ethnicity, you see that students who identify as white are the most likely to say that they are going to stay in Alabama after graduation, whereas students that are part of a minority group who identify as part of a minority group are much more likely to say that they're unsure. When we looked at it by age, students that are older, so they're 25 years or older, they are more likely to say that they plan to stay in Alabama, whereas students that are younger, 24 years old and younger, are more undecided. When we look at the expected graduation date, so the students who were going to be graduating in 2021 this year, the highest percentage of them said yes, they plan to stay in Alabama after graduation. And then as students get further away from graduation, so our juniors and our sophomores, they are more uncertain about what they're going to be doing after graduation. So that's where you see the 47% and the 50%. So what this really tells us is we need to do outreach to students well before their senior year, because many of those students are undecided, and there's an opportunity to provide them with more information and convince them to stay. So for students that have a STEM-related major, we see, again, the majority of them, or the highest percentage of them, are undecided about staying in Alabama, 48%, whereas those non-STEM majors, more of them are planning to stay in Alabama after graduation. So for those that are particularly interested in the STEM field, there's a lot of opportunity for us to do outreach to students. Okay, there's a lot of information on this slide, but I want to point out a couple things. In that top row, you see that students who have an education major or a health science major, those two groups of majors are the most likely to stay in Alabama after graduation. Those are the ones that said yes. Whereas students that have an arts and communication major or a public administration, safety, or law major, those are the least likely to say that they plan to stay in Alabama after graduation. And then if we look at our STEM majors, in terms of the ones that are saying yes, like we just talked about, they are towards the bottom of the group when we compare against other majors, with a very high percentage saying maybe. All right, so now we're going to transition to talk about impressions of Alabama and importance of items when students consider career locations. So as with the work group for the Retain Alabama project, there were 22 items that were identified that we wanted to ask students about. And those 22 items can be grouped into these 5 general categories. So we have in the red, we have the overall categories. In the purple, there's the items that relate to community. In the blue, items that relate to social and economic environment. In the green, items that relate specifically to career. And the last one is more entertainment extracurricular. So for each of those items, we asked students what their impressions were of Alabama in regards to that item, and how much importance they put on that item when they're thinking about where to live after graduation. So you're going to see a couple slides that have these items that show the results of the survey. They are ordered from the highest impression to the lowest impression. So this slide, we're seeing that these are the items that students had the highest impression of. So we have natural environment and access to healthy outdoors. Those are the 2 areas where students rated Alabama as the most positive. And then, and all of these are fairly positive. And then you see in the green, the importance level that students put on those items. So students put a very high importance on cost of living. And just for a reference point, so the highest would be, for both of these categories, would be a 5, and the lowest would be a 1. If we go to the next one, we're starting to see the impressions are getting lower. The importance varies a bit depending on what the item is. The next slide, we're starting to see a bigger gap open up between what the student's impression is and what their importance is. So we're seeing job opportunity and potential career advancement is of importance to students, whereas the impression is getting closer to a neutral impression. And then this slide is telling us those items where students have the lowest impressions of Alabama. So if 3 is neutral, then you see we have 4 items that are below a 3, which get into that negative range, so a negative impression of Alabama. And those bottom 4 items are political environment, social awareness environment, salary, and acceptance towards people of diverse backgrounds. And at the same time, you can see the importance that students put on these same items. So for acceptance towards people of diverse backgrounds and salary, you can see that the importance is above a 4, so it's above important. Okay, so I'm going to explain this chart a little bit because it can be a little bit confusing, but it tells us a very important message. So when we notice that there's that gap between impression and importance, if we quantify that gap, then we can look at those areas where there's the most gap between the importance that students put on an item and their impression. So the item that has the largest gap is salary, where the importance was very high, but the impression of Alabama was in comparison quite low. So these are the items where if we can improve student impressions, then we might be able to really help us graduates stay in Alabama, because these are items that are important to them, but their impressions are not at the level of their importance. And we can generally say that these are grouped into two categories if we go back to how we categorized our items, and they are career and then the social and economic environment. So for career, the biggest gap and the biggest work that we have to do is around improving students' impressions of salaries, job opportunities, potential for career advancement, and employer-related benefits in Alabama. And then in terms of social and economic environment, the biggest work to do is around acceptance of people with diverse backgrounds, political environment, social awareness environment, and public safety. We did disaggregate these data, and I'm just going to pull out a few highlights here. So Alabama residents did have better impressions than non-residents for 17 of the 22 items. The one exception was weather. Non-residents said that they rated Alabama's weather as better than non-residents. And Alabama residents and non-residents have the same low impressions for those bottom four. So it wasn't just that, oh, well, it's the non-residents who think that about Alabama. It's the Alabama residents felt the exact same way. So both groups had the same low impression of those bottom four items. When we look at STEM to see if there's a difference between STEM students and non-STEM students in terms of their impressions of Alabama, it's actually there's a statistically significant difference in terms of their views of the natural environment and access to outdoors. So that's a selling point for STEM students for Alabama. And then they also have a more positive impression of salary and cost of living than non-STEM students. Males have, for those bottom four items, interestingly, males have better impressions than females of those bottom four items. So they're still at the bottom of the list for everybody, but there is a statistically significant difference between males and females. And students who identify as white have better impressions than students who do not identify as white for all 22 items. And that was statistically significant. So we're going to look at that a little bit more right here in terms of the top three. So we have by race and ethnicity, we split out the top three positive and the top three negative impressions. And you can see for the top three positive, there is some variability in what students see as the positive aspects of Alabama. Of particular interest are students who identify as African American, because they had three items that they felt were strong impressions that were different, quite different from the other ones, where they identified educational opportunities, opportunities to practice faith, and then proximity to family. In terms of negative impressions, there was a lot of commonality about the negative impressions. Those four on the bottom that we've been talking about showed up on the bottom for as one of the bottom three for every single one of our race ethnicity groups. And again, that's political environment, acceptance of people with diverse backgrounds, and social awareness environment and salary. So from all of this information, we had a lot of data to look at. We had a lot of great discussions with our university partners and with other leaders in the state of Alabama. And what we've identified as recommendations moving forward are the following. One is to develop more work-related experiences in Alabama high schools, particularly related to the STEM fields. The second is to promote the state, particularly for out-of-state students. So we had so many out-of-state students that were on that undecided, maybe I'll stay in Alabama. So we really want to work to convince more of those out-of-state students, as well as the in-state students, to stay in Alabama. So there's a real opportunity there. We need to delve deeper into specifics of what's driving and how to change those negative impressions, those bottom four that we've been talking about. And then lastly, Alabama four-year universities in partnership with local and regional businesses, we want to increase exposure and outreach about career opportunities in Alabama to students well before their senior year. We want to reach out to them earlier and often to help them to increase their awareness and understanding of the great opportunities within the state of Alabama. So that can include providing resources to show students what Alabama has to offer in various regions of the state, various types of employment, to further embed work-based learning into curricula across all program areas, and to support more frequent career fairs and recruitment opportunities, bringing together students and employers. In that vein, one of the initiatives that AIC is working on is a partnership with the Economic Development Partnership of Alabama. So and this will involve the 14 public universities as well as employers throughout the state. The goal is to increase the number of university graduates who live and work in Alabama. And so there will be AIC with the 14 universities will bring that educational component, and EDPA with their connection with businesses and employers will bring that aspect, and there'll be a close partnership between the two to help link those two aspects. So I know we've gone through a lot of information, a lot of data, but I don't know, Dr. Purcell, if you want to entertain questions about anything that we've presented.
Yeah, I'd love to just see the perspectives of the, especially the commissioners, if they have any questions or thoughts.
Bryn, excellent report to you and your team. That's just amazing. I'm glad you're part of our team. That was just amazing. And so thank you. Very, very informative. And I hope we can start narrowing that gap of kids leaving the state of Alabama. And so that data will certainly help y'all. Thank you so much. Okay, so at this time, just to remind the commissioners, we're moving into the discussion items. Each item will be voted on individually, and any questions may be directed to the staff presenter. Our first decision item A will be presented by Mrs. Whitehurst, the final approval of amendments to the administrative procedures for the Alabama Math and Science Teacher Education Program Loan Repayment Program.
Okay, good morning. This item was presented at the last meeting by Mr. Tim Vick. The preliminary approval for the proposed amendments was granted by the commission on Friday, June 11th, 2021. The proposed changes were filed with the Legislative Services Agency on June 15th, 2021, and it was published in the Alabama Administrative Monthly on June 30th, 2021. Interested parties, as well as the general public, had until August 9th, 2021 to comment. No comments were received. If approved, the certified changes will be filed with the Alabama Procedures Office on September 14th, 2021, and will go into effect on November 22nd, 2021. And the staff recommends approval.
Excellent. Thank you, Ms. Whitehurst. Chair entertains a motion to approve the staff recommendation.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve. Any questions or comments? All in favor of approving, say aye.
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 And all opposed, like sign. The program is approved. Our next decision item B will be presented by Mrs. Whitehurst. The final approval of amendments to the administrative procedures for the Alabama Student Grant Program.
Okay, also, this item was presented at the last meeting by Mr. Tim Vick. So the preliminary approval for the proposed amendments was granted by the commission on Friday, June 11th, 2021. And the proposed changes were filed with the Legislative Service Agency on June 15th, 2021. And they also was published in the Alabama Administrative Monthly on June 30th, 2021. The interested parties, as well as the general public, had until August 9th, 2021 to comment. No comments were received. So if approved, the certified changes will be filed with the Alabama Procedures Office on September 14th, 2021, and will go into effect on November 22nd, 2021, and the staff recommends approval.
Thank you. Chair entertains a motion to approve the staff recommendation.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve. Any questions or comments? All in favor of approving, say aye.
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 And all opposed, like sign. The program is approved. Our next decision item C will be presented by Mrs. Whitehurst. The final approval of amendments to the administrative procedures for the police officers and firefighters Survivors Educational Assistance Program.
Okay, this item also, it was presented at the last meeting by Mr. Tim Vick. The preliminary approval for the proposed amendments was granted by the commission on Friday, June 11th, 2021. And the proposed changes were filed also with the Legislative Services Agency on June 15th, 2021, and published in the Alabama Administrative Monthly on June 30th, 2021. Interested parties, as well as the general public, had until August 9th, 2021 to comment, and no comments were received. If approved, the certified changes will be filed with the Alabama Procedures Office on September 14th, 2021, and will go into effect on November 22nd, 2021. The staff recommends approval.
Thank you. Chair entertains a motion to approve the staff recommendation.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve. Any questions or comments? All in favor of approving, say aye.
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 And all opposed, like sign. The program is approved. Our next decision item D will be presented by Mrs. Whitehurst, the approval of 2022 meeting schedule.
Okay, the proposed scheduled meeting dates for 2022, which are all Fridays, are March 11th, 2022, June 10th, 2022, September 9th, 2022, and December 9th, 2022. When we decided on the meeting dates, we took into consideration the requirement by law for the commission to meet at least once a quarter. A December meeting is necessary to adopt the consolidated budget recommendation, and we try to avoid conflict with most state holidays. So staff recommends approval.
Thank you. The chair entertains a motion to approve the staff recommendation.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any questions or comments? All in favor of approving, say aye.
Aye.
And all opposed, like sign. The program is approved. Thank you, Mrs. Whitehurst, for everything.
You're welcome.
Our next decision item E will be presented by Mrs. Harris, the fiscal year 2021-22 operations plan.
Good morning.
Morning.
The commission administers 32 programs under the 5 appropriation units. There are 4 new programs for FY22 budget. They are the Alabama Credential Registry, Retain Alabama, the Historical Black Colleges and University Consortium, and the USS Alabama Battleship. Now, this represents a 16.76% increase over the previous year. Our operation plan was due on July the 30th, but if there are any changes made by this commission today, we will make an operation revision plan after October 1, 2021. Here you can see that there is 2 new programs that I've mentioned on the previous slide. One is Retain Alabama, where we got $800,000, but $400,000 of that goes to EDPA. Also, there's a 39% increase for the Alabama Student Assistance Program, which is our need-based program. Additionally, Network of Alabama Academic Library has a 24.97% increase. They got $75,000 more, and that's they haven't had an increase in a long time. Here you will see our major funds for the different appropriations. 189, we have a 22.31% increase, and that's with Resource Conservation and Development Program. They got 700,000 more. And then you will see there's a pretty significant increase for the Alabama Forestry Foundation Black Belt Initiative, but $650,000 of this increase will go to the Sloan Dixon Center. Also, you will see that we had an increase for the Alabama Trails Foundation, and that's $145,000 increase at 74.36%. These are the two new programs under the 189 appropriation at USS Alabama and HBCU. On this particular slide, you will see by appropriation unit. And if you can look at the orange, you will see that student assistance make up 46.9% of our budget expenditures by this appropriation unit. Their appropriation unit is the highest of 46.9%. Here you can see that overall, our overall budget, only 12.2% is for operation. 87.8% is for grants and benefits that usually goes to for the benefits of the students. This particular slide gives you, actually, it tells you about major object code. And again, you will see that grants and benefits has an 87.8%, $40 million of our $46 million budget goes for the benefit of grants and scholarships. This is for operation only. This is for the operation of the Commission on Higher Education. On this particular slide, you can see that personnel costs is about 59%. And that's mainly because we are the umbrella for all those 32 programs. So therefore, this is the human personnel cost to operate 32 programs. The staff does ask for approval of this operation plan.
Thank you. The chair entertains a motion to approve the staff recommendation.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any questions or comments? All in favor of approving, say aye.
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 And all opposed, like sign. The program is approved. Thank you, Mrs. Harris.
Mr. Chairman,
Mhm.
This is Paul Kennedy. Just for the record, I would like to be noted as abstaining as I have a conflict with some of the budget items.
Excellent. Thank you. Let's make sure that we have that in the minutes. Okay. Our next decision, item F, will be presented by Mrs. Gunter, the Forever Wild appointment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In 1992, Forever Wild was created by the Alabama Department of Conservation and Natural Resources as the state's first land trust program. The first property purchase was made in 1994. 13 years later, almost 134,000 acres in 18 Alabama counties have been acquired for public use. All of the property is managed under 4 principal designations: nature preserves, recreation areas, state parks, and wildlife management areas. Since the beginning of the program, the Commission has appointed 3 professional biologist trustees from the northern, southern, and central districts of the state. The appointments are made from the departments of biology, zoology, environmental sciences, and wildlife science from eligible 4-year institutions. The 6-year term of Dr. Lori Tolley Jordan of Jacksonville State University will expire on September 30th. The Commission is recommending Dr. Heather Howell of Alabama A&M University as the Northern District appointment beginning October 1st. Dr. Howell has extensive experience in plant and soil science as well as wildlife research. She has been instrumental in training students and staff in research procedures and field and lab safety. In addition, she has coordinated research activities of faculty, students, and staff, and has designed and implemented aquatic and terrestrial wildlife field studies. Dr. Howell assisted in the development of a minor in fisheries at Alabama A&M University. Dr. Howell is highly qualified to serve as the 8th representative on the Forever Wild Board. The staff is recommending that she be approved.
Looks like a very good appointment. Chair entertains a motion to approve the staff recommendation.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any questions or comments? All in favor of approving, say aye.
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 And all opposed, like sign. The program is approved. Thank you, Mrs. Gunter. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Chairman.
Our next decision item G will be presented by Mrs. Newton, the public drawing to determine the order of payment of Alabama Student Grant Program funds for the 2021-22 academic year. This is always fun.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
In accordance to the Budget Management Act, Section 41-19-1, Code of Alabama 1975, the State Department of Finance reviews each agency operational plan to ensure that appropriations have been made for the planned purpose and will not be exhausted before the end of the fiscal year. Therefore, departments are required to distribute appropriations equally among the 4 quarters. With this concept, the quarterly appropriated amount for the Alabama Student Grant Program are insufficient to be dispersed to all institutions. As the funds become available, the order in which institutions will receive their fall disbursement is determined by a random and public drawing from first drawn, first paid to last drawn, last paid. Institution spring disbursement will be in reverse order from last drawn, first paid to first drawn, last paid. The purpose of this drawing is to determine the order in which the fall grant payments will be disbursed to the 12 participating institutions. This bowl contains sealed envelopes with each institution's name. Ms. Petway will draw each envelope one at a time, and Ms. Jones will open and announce the name of the institution to determine the order today.
Choose carefully.
Birmingham Southern College. Birmingham Southern College. Amherst University. Amherst University. Stillman College. Stillman College. Spring Hill College. Spring Hill College. South University. South University. Samford University. Samford University. U.S. Sports Academy. U.S. Sports Academy. Miles College. Miles College. Faulkner University. Faulkner University. Oakwood University. Oakwood University. University of Mobile. University of Mobile. Huntington College. Huntington College. Staff recommends approval of the order that has been determined.
I love the way we determine that. I just think it's great. Thank you, ladies. Really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Chair entertains a motion to approve the order in which the institutions were identified.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any questions or comments? All in favor of approving, say aye.
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 And all opposed, like sign. The order of payment is approved. Thanks again, ladies.
Thank you.
Ma'am, the next decision, item H, we're now moving into our academic programs, will be presented by Dr. McGill. The first program will be from Alabama State University, Master of Business Administration in Business Administration.
Great. Thank you, Chairman Bunton. This proposed program is designed to extend Alabama State University's offerings in business to the master's level. The institution currently offers 5 baccalaureate programs and 1 graduate program. This MBA would have 3 concentrations, 1 in project management, 1 in enterprise resource planning, and a general MBA concentration. ASU intends to deliver the program both in person and online, so students can choose their preferred modality. It will require an investment of new resources for staff, program director, who is a faculty stipend, additional library resources, and 5 graduate assistantships, which will help defray the costs. All of those resources will go into developing 18 new courses, and ASU projects a need for an additional faculty member in years 6 and 7 if the program grows as they project. They are looking at a new enrollment of 21 students per year, which is well over the viability requirement, and staff is recommending approval for this program.
Thank you. Chair entertains a motion to approve the staff recommendation.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any questions or comments? All in favor of approving, say aye.
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 And all opposed, like sign. The program is approved. The next program will be from Auburn University, presented by Dr. McGill, Master of Science in Forest Business and Investment.
Great, thank you, Chairman. This Master of Science in Forest and Business Investment is building on a graduate certificate that Auburn already offers in forest finance and investment. They found that the enrollments are high enough to sustain a full master's degree program. The program will be housed in the School of Forestry and Wildlife Sciences, but they are collaborating with the College of Business. A portion of the coursework will be delivered in the College of Business because of the focus of the program. Auburn is planning to hire new faculty in year 5 if the program grows as expected. It will be delivered 100% online and primarily aimed at working professionals who are in the forestry industry, which we know is very large in our state. There are no programs similar in the state. The closest comparable program is at the University of Georgia, and that is offered in person only. Auburn projects a new enrollment of 9.5 students a year, and staff is recommending approval for the program.
Thank you. Chair entertains a motion to approve the staff recommendation.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any questions or comments? All in favor of approving, say aye.
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 And all opposed, like sign. The program is approved. The next program will be from Jacksonville State University, presented by Dr. McGill. Bachelor of Science in Computer Information Systems, Substantive Modification.
Great, thank you, Chairman. So this program in computer information systems is currently offered at Jacksonville State University under the same instructional code, zip code, as the Bachelor in Computer Science. And a substantive modification allows AIC and Jacksonville State to move that program into a more appropriate CIP code that describes the content of the degree. But in order to do so, both programs have to show viability and sustainability. Over the past 4 years, this program, Computer Information Systems, has averaged 21 graduates per year, which is well over the needed viability. The program is also separately accredited through the Computing Accreditation Commission of the Accreditation Board for Engineering and Technology. This substantive modification requires no new courses and no new resources. And so staff is recommending approval.
Thank you. Chair entertains a motion to approve the staff recommendation.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any questions or comments? All in favor of approving, say aye.
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 And all opposed, like sign. The program is approved. The next program will be from the University of Alabama, presented by Dr. McGill, Bachelor of Fine Arts in Graphic Design.
Thank you, Chairman. This BFA in graphic design is developed. The University of Alabama is proposing to elevate an existing concentration from their BFA in studio art to be its own degree program in graphic design. They do have an extra post-implementation condition to maintain viability for the existing program, the BFA in studio art. They are projecting new enrollment in this proposed program at 21 students per year. There was significant interest from peer institutions. 3 institutions were in strong support. 2 expressed interest about duplication and oversaturation in the marketplace. And AIC notes that the graphic design occupation appears on the in-demand occupations list. And so there seems to be sufficient demand within the state. This program, because with its new standalone status, will be able to be accredited under the National Association of Schools of Art and Design, which accredits the entire School of Art at the University of Alabama. Staff is recommending approval for this program.
Thank you. The chair entertains a motion to approve the staff recommendation.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any questions or comments? All in favor of approving, say aye.
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 And all opposed, like sign. The program is approved. The second program from the University of Alabama will be presented by Dr. McGill, Master of Arts in Interdisciplinary Studies.
Okay, thank you, Chairman. And I'll start by saying that this degree, the MA in Interdisciplinary Studies, is going to be very similar to the next item on the agenda, which is MS in Interdisciplinary Studies, both from the University of Alabama. Both programs share a similar structure, and that structure is informed by the existing PhD program that Alabama has in interdisciplinary studies. That PhD program and these 2 master's programs are supported by a plan of study that's approved by a faculty committee and the graduate school. So University of Alabama is seeking to make that option available for arts disciplines, that those would pertain to the Master of Arts, and then for science plans of study. Those would be the MS and interdisciplinary studies. We also saw last year similar pair of interdisciplinary programs from the University of Alabama at Birmingham. And that program was structured slightly differently to accommodate 2 graduate certificates and a capstone course. And this proposal from the University of Alabama can also accommodate that structure. This has been discussed widely by the Alabama Council of Graduate Deans, who are highly supportive of potential collaborations across institutions so that graduate certificates, one from one institution, another from another, could be combined into a single interdisciplinary studies degree that is earned at one institution. And the structure of this proposed program does lend itself to participating in that collaboration as well. UA is projecting a new enrollment of 11 students annually, primarily who will be part-time students. And staff is recommending approval for this program.
Thank you. The chair entertains a motion to approve the staff recommendation.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any questions or comments? All in favor of approving, say aye.
Aye.
And all opposed, like sign. The program is approved. The third program from the University of Alabama will be presented by Dr. McGill, Master of Science in Interdisciplinary Studies.
Great, thank you, Chairman. As I mentioned, this program is substantially similar to the one that was just approved, the MA. This would be students whose plan of study includes science fields, primarily as determined by their faculty committee and graduate school. It also accommodates the graduate certificates and similarly projects an enrollment of 11 students per year. Staff is recommending approval for the program.
Thank you. Chair entertains a motion to approve the staff recommendation.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any questions or comments? All in favor of approving, say aye.
Aye.
And all opposed, like sign. The program is approved. The fourth program from the University of Alabama will be presented by Dr. McGill, Bachelor of Science in General Business, Substantive Modification.
Okay, thank you, Chairman. Similar to what we saw with Jacksonville State University a minute ago, the University of Alabama has requested to modify their Bachelor of Science in General Business to have a new CIP code. The current CIP code is shared with the BS in Management. So as a result of this substantive modification, the BS in General Business will move to 520101, which is a more general content area. Both programs will be maintaining viability, which is certainly not a problem. This particular program that will be modified averages 211 graduates per year. And therefore, we feel confident that it will continue. No new resources or coursework are required, and staff is recommending approval of the program in its modified form.
Thank you. Chair entertains a motion to approve the staff recommendation.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any questions or comments? All in favor of approving, say aye.
Aye.
And all opposed, like sign. The program is approved. The next program will be from the University of Alabama in Huntsville, presented by Dr. McGill, Master of Science in Kinesiology.
Thank you. UAH is proposing an MS in kinesiology, which will extend its offerings in the subject from the baccalaureate level to the master's level. The focus and the initial proposal is on sports science as part of UAH's technology-focused mission. The proposal will require the development of 10 new courses and new resources for faculty, sports science equipment and maintenance, and assistantships. UAH is projecting that the program will be self-sustaining by year 4 and that it will enroll 8 new students a year. It aligns with occupations that are in demand for coaches and scouts and also exercise trainers. And it includes industry validated preparation recommended by the National Strength and Conditioning Association for 2 professional certifications. Staff is recommending approval for the program.
Thank you. Chair entertains a motion to approve the staff recommendation.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any questions or comments? I just want to make a quick comment. My daughter is a freshman at the University of Alabama, and she came home Labor Day and brought a really good friend with her. And so we were making small talk. And so I asked the friend what she was majoring in, and she said kinesiology. And of course, it's like, where have I seen that before? And of course, it was on the agenda. But so I asked her, I said, well, you know, do you have a big class? And she said, it's actually a very big class. And of course, this is undergrad. This is not a master's. But anyway, that's not a term that we normally see. And so I thought it was great that that the need is that, well, the desire is there for kids to go into this. So that's great. Any other questions or comments? Okay, all in favor of approving, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
And all opposed, like sign. The program is approved. The second program from the University of Alabama in Huntsville will be presented by Dr. McGill, Doctor of Philosophy in Applied Experimental Psychology.
Great. Thank you, Chairman. UAH is proposing to extend its offerings to the doctoral level. They currently offer master's in psychology, and they have the faculty there have attracted quite a bit of external funding from researchers and grantors who are in the Huntsville area and nationally. And those funders have said to them, well, we'll give you additional funding if you can extend your program to the doctoral level, which is certainly compelling, and also will advance the faculty research and produce new researchers in the field of applied experimental psychology. UAH is proposing 2 concentrations for this degree, one in human factors, which has to do with the relationship between humans and machines, and the Internet of Things and so forth. And then the second concentration is in psychology and law. Both of these concentrations, as the name of the degree suggests, focus more on experimental and applied understandings of psychology versus clinical. And this particular program will require investments in new faculty and assistantships to develop 20 new courses. They do require work-based learning for students, and that include internship and also employment skills training. The proposal was accompanied by letters from industry indicating the desire and need for expanding the program to this level, and staff is recommending approval.
Thank you. The chair entertains a motion to approve the staff recommendation.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any questions or comments? All in favor of approving, say aye.
Aye.
And all opposed, like sign. The program is approved. The next program will be from the University of South Alabama, presented by Dr. McGill, Bachelor of Arts in Journalism.
Great. Thank you, Chairman. And I'll just give a brief header on this program and the next 2. They are all related to the same change. The University of South Alabama currently has a BA in communication, which has 4 concentrations, and the institution is seeking to elevate 3 of those to standalone degree programs. The reason for that is to give the students enrolled more specialized training in their particular field and make them more attractive for employment, and also to allow them to extend their minor. Each program includes a minor, and that minor coursework can then extend into other communication fields. So the focus here is on specialization and for employment. This particular program, the BA in journalism, will expand that journalism concentration, and it will have a projected new enrollment of 10 students per year. It will not require new funding. The proposed program does have work-based learning requirements for students to complete an internship, and staff is recommending approval for the program.
Thank you. The chair entertains a motion to approve the staff recommendation.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any questions or comments?
Just a comment, Chairman, someone who's in the business of media and journalism, I'm excited about this project and I look forward to hiring new graduates. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Pilot. Any other comments? All in favor of approving, say aye.
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 And all opposed, like sign. Program is approved. The second program from the University of South Alabama will be presented by Dr. McGill, Bachelor of Arts in Advertising and Public Relations.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. As I mentioned, this is the second of the concentrations from the BA in Communication that is being elevated to its own degree program. The BA in Advertising and Public Relations will itself have 2 concentrations, one in advertising and one in public relations. They will share common coursework. The university will need to develop 3 new courses for this program, and the program does require work-based learning through an in-house advertising firm for the advertising concentrators, and then through a corporate internship for those in the PR concentration. Again, the rationale here is to develop more specialized coursework and also to meet the demand in the industry for PR professionals and market analysts. Staff is recommending approval.
Thank you. Chair entertains a motion to approve the staff recommendation.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any questions or comments? All in favor of approving, say aye.
Aye.
And all opposed, like sign. The program is approved. The third program from the University of South Alabama will be presented by Dr. McGill, Bachelor of Arts in Digital Film and Television Production.
Okay, thank you, Chairman. The BA in Digital Film and Television Production is the third concentration from the BA in Communication that will be elevated to a new degree program. As with the others, the original degree program will need to maintain viability, as will the new program. It will not require new resources, but this program is intended to meet in-demand occupation industry need for producers and directors in the growing film industry in Alabama. There is a projected enrollment for this program of 10 new students per year. The letters of support were compelling, including one with an endowed scholarship grant for the program. Staff is recommending approval.
Thank you. Chair entertains a motion to approve the staff recommendation.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any questions or comments? All in favor of approving, say aye.
Aye.
And all opposed, like sign. The program is approved. Dr. McGill, thank you so much for your time and all your very efforts. The next program will be from Drake State Community College, presented by Mrs. White, Associate of Applied Science and Certificate in Child Care and Development.
Thank you and good morning.
Good morning.
Drake is projecting an annual average new enrollment of around 8 for this program. It will help meet high industry demand for trained and certified child care workers, as this is a very high turnover occupation. The college's service area is experiencing significant growth, with large companies like Mazda, Toyota, and Google Fiber creating new jobs in the area. And as a result, additional child care options are needed for working families. This will be the only associate degree program in childcare development in Jackson County. And Drake is currently exploring partnerships with Alabama A&M and UNH to ensure a smooth transition of credits for those students who wish to continue on with a bachelor's degree. Drake is projecting $280,000 in new funds over the first 7 years of this program. The majority of that will be used to hire additional adjunct instructors, and they anticipate that the program will generate $328,000 through tuition. Staff is recommending approval of this program.
Thank you. The chair entertains a motion to approve the staff recommendation.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any questions or comments? All in favor of approving, say aye.
Aye.
And all opposed, like sign. The program is approved. The second program from Drake State Community College will be presented by Mrs. White, Associate of Applied Science and Certificate in Building Construction Technology.
Thank you. Drake is also projecting annual average new enrollment of around 8 for this proposed program. As mentioned in the previous proposal, significant growth in the area is creating a need for more workers and therefore more residential and commercial construction. This program will help meet that industry demand and prepare students to work as construction trades workers and laborers, which are on the statewide in-demand occupations list. Drake mentioned in their proposal that they receive a lot of contact from local owners of construction companies who express difficulty in finding employees all the way from entry level to management. And as a result of those conversations, Drake did start several short-term programs in carpentry, which has been very successful. And this construction program will build on that idea, and it will incorporate more work-based learning and apprenticeships. Drake is projecting $321,000 in new funds over the first 7 years to support the program, the majority of which will be used to hire additional adjunct instructors and cover about $55,000 in first-year equipment costs. They anticipate the program will generate $328,000 through tuition. Staff is recommending approval of this program.
Thank you. Chair entertains a motion to approve the staff recommendation.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any questions or comments? All in favor of approving, say aye.
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 And all opposed, like sign. The program is approved. Thank you, Mrs. White, for your time. Appreciate it. Now we move into the information items. Items 1 through 7 are normally accepted or not accepted by the commission as a whole. The chair entertains a motion to approve the items collectively.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any questions or comments? All in favor of approving, say aye.
Aye.
And all opposed, like sign. Information items are accepted. Excellent. That pretty much concludes our meeting today. I just want to thank everybody for being here, and just a special thank you to all the staff at the commission. They just make our job as commissioners just run smoothly. They do all the due diligence, all the legwork, and we just really appreciate everything that y'all do. Welcome to all the new staff as well. And I'm just hoping in December we will all be together on Union Street. It's been, I think, over a year now that we've been doing these awkward meetings like this, but hopefully we'll all be together. So I hope everybody stays safe, has a very good fall, and we will see you in December. Thanks so much.